In this tutorial, I will show you how to extract models and textures for Dragon Age Inquisition and Mass Effect Andromeda using Frosty Editor. I will then show you how to use textures provided by the game to change the colours on the textures. First part is for Dragon Age Inquisition. Second part is for Mass Effect Andromeda. Most meshes in the game can be found under Dragon Age 3, Factions, and then find them in their corresponding folders. For the Inquisitor, Advisors, Party Members, and some other characters, you can find their meshes and textures under Actors. This includes all textures that characters use for their faces and skin. You can also find meshes and textures under the DLC folders as well. For this tutorial, I will be getting the Canary Antam-Sa. So if you're wondering why I'm showing you how to export the other races of the Antam-Sa, it's mainly to show you the armature you select for export for the certain races. DF means dwarf female, EF means elf female, HF means human female, and QF means canary female. Swap the F for M and it will be the male versions. However, you can see the folder it is located in has only QF in its name, even though it has the other female versions in the folder. So don't always think it means the one race. In fact, some meshes also show textures. For example, the prologue outfit shares its textures with all the races. So if you find a mesh and can't find its textures, it is likely because it uses the textures of the human male, which is the default for textures when it is shared between the races. Export all the textures for the model. You need it all for both the model and changing the colours. The normal looks wrong here, but once you use Gnosis, it will convert it to the right format. D is for diffuse, N for normal, S for specular, and T for tint. The easiest way for me to convert the DDS textures to PNG or JPEG is using Gnosis, as I don't have access to Photoshop. So sorry for Photoshop users, I can't show you what to do here. But for those who also don't have access to Photoshop or other paid programs, then this is perfect for you. Load your desired program. I'm showing how to do it in GIMP. Load each texture except the normal unless you are changing the size of it. With the tint map texture, which has green, blue and red, you want to go to Colours, Components, then Decompose. Change the RGB to RGBA so you can get the alpha layer as well, if it has one. Decompose the specular texture as well. In the specular texture you will find the texture that defines metal in the game, which is usually found on the blue channel. Each layer of the tint map is used in-game to define the area it changes on the mesh. In-game you can tint your armours, so think of it like that. You are tinting the metal and the other materials. With the tint map texture, which has green, blue and red, you want to go to Colours, Components, then Decompose. Change the RGB to RGBA so you can get the alpha layer as well, if it has one. Decompose the specular texture as well. In the specular texture you will find the texture that defines metal in the game, which is usually found on the blue channel. For this part of the tutorial, I'll be exporting the under armour for the male Turian as well as its textures from Mass Effect Andromeda. For Mass Effect Andromeda and previous Mass Effects, they also use a texture called STRP alongside the tint texture to colour the model. The STRP is also used to put a pattern on the model, for example the camouflage effect we often see in game, so make sure to export all textures assigned to the model. The easiest way for me to convert the DDS textures to PNG or JPEG is using Gnosis, as I don't have access to Photoshop. So sorry for Photoshop users, I can't show you what to do here. But for those who also don't have access to Photoshop or other paid programs, then this is perfect for you. Also on this drop down menu you can check for updates. Do this as you may not be able to load all textures or models in Gnosis if you do not. Once updated, go to Tools, then Batch Process. Change input to DDS and output to PNG or your desired textured format. Under Output Path, delete the text I have highlighted so it doesn't create new folders for each texture. Then click on Folder Batch to find and select the folder that has your textures. Then click Export. I generally then delete the DDS versions to free up space on my hard drive, as I can always go back and export them if I need to. Load your desired program and load all the textures. Only load the normal if you're going to change the size of it. Generally for Mass Effect Andromeda, I changed all the texture sizes from 4096 by 4096 to 2048 by 2048. So while they are smaller for XPS, they are still high res enough for those who can use them. For those that can't, they can resize them to 512 by 512. I also decompose the specular texture. This is so we can change it to black and white for use in XPS. The red channel I also use to add extra detail to the specular by setting it to multiply, and then later on I do the same on the diffuse. So the green channel is what I use for the specular. The blue channel is our emission map. Export it and call it something like armor_e, and later change the colour to what you need. So by default, the lights on your armor will be white.